Hi guys, today I want to talk to you about how I weather my vehicles. These are the Oxford diecast fans and I've really enjoyed weathering them, and I've gained a lot of confidence in my own skills since doing them, and I just want to show you guys how I do it, and it may inspire some of you to have a go. Because now I've reached the level where I'm starting to have a go at wagons and carriages for the railway. But I think the vehicles are a good place to start. So far I've done two. I've done the Stobart Rail and the Royal Mail one. The Royal Mail one has a lighter weathering than the Stobart one. But anyway, so what I'm going to show you today is this Network Rail one. Pretty much the same as you can see, apart from you got this little window here. But hopefully you can see the difference between the two. I'm going to go for a similar kind of weathering, but yeah, you'll see as the video goes through how I achieve this. So I will show you what you need to do this job. Now, there's not an awful lot that you need for this. Preferably you want a good kind of lamp. Having good lighting really helps for weathering. But the basic tools that you need: firstly, you need your weathering powders. I have gone for the Humbrol weathering powders. You can get the Tamiya range, but I've found these to be quite good. So this is smoke. I use this to highlight the cracks in the vehicles. It's quite effective for that. So you see that's like a black. And secondly, I've got Dark Earth, and again there's the product code. And these tend to, let's have a look. Yeah, these tend to retail for about £3.99. I've had these a while. I in fact used it. The camera's not going to pick it out actually. I used it to weather the track as well. So these do last an awful long time, and they're really good. Good value for money in my opinion. So next we need some brushes. I go for two different types of brushes. I go for a really fine brush like that, and then almost like a makeup brush, which kind of blends the colours together. I find you only really need the two. Masking tape is really important. What I do is I tape up the windows so they don't get ruined by any of the powders or varnish. And what I do is I use scissors and I just cut out the shapes of the windows, tape them up. And finally I use acrylic varnish. I don't know where the top's gone for it actually, but it's matte varnish, acrylic varnish. What I'll do is I will post the product code in the description box so that you can find that out for yourselves. What that does is it reduces the kind of glossy finish that these models tend to have. as you can see, the two that I've done a lot less shiny. I mean, you can really tell the difference, and having it a bit duller like that, I think, looks a little bit more realistic. And also, of course, you're going to want a scrap piece of paper that you don't really care about, because you don't want to get your table dirty. These powders are quite difficult to rub out of wood, as I've found to my own expense. So what I'll do is I'll mount the camera on a tripod, and you can watch what I do. Yeah, back in a bit. One thing I did forget to mention was Oxford Diecast present all their models on a little black plinth like that. I found that doing the weathering on the plinth is so much better, because you can move the model around using the plinth rather than the model. So say I've done some weathering on this side and I want to do it to the other, I want to continue on the other side, I don't have to pick up the model and get all fingerprints on this side, because I've got the plinth to turn it around. As you can see, I've done the masking tape, I've masked up the windows. The main reason for doing this is when you finish weathering, you apply the varnish. What that does is it firstly dulls the model down, but it also traps the weathering powder onto the model, which means you can then pick up your model and none of the powders rub off. So you've got a weathered finish which is retained by the model, and that's down to the varnish. However, the varnish, if it gets on clear plastic, such as windows, you'll get this frosting effect, which looks obviously quite bad. So obviously that window there doesn't matter because it's not a real window, but any clear windows, mask them up. Okay, what I'll do is I'll mount the camera and away we'll go. So what I'm firstly going to do is I'm going to take the smoke weathering powder and highlight all the little cracks. And to do this, I'm going to use my fine brush, and simply all you do is you pop it in your weathering powder. As I said, Tamiya offer a similar kind of weathering thing, and all you do is you rub this down the cracks. So anywhere where there's doors, handles, sometimes it helps to just blow it off like that. And the great thing is at this point is if you don't like what you've done, it's quite easy to just get your finger, rub it off. So we'll just go through all the cracks. Now this one doesn't have to be quite as heavy on the weathering. No, I don't like that. So you just rub it off. Obviously you have to prepare to get dirty fingers on this one. But I think it's quite a simple kind of thing to do. It's well worth the time to put in. So we're just gonna put a little bit more in, and immediately you start seeing the model start to come alive a little bit. So all I'm doing now is I'm just blowing the excess powders off. I want to keep that window clean, really. So if I turn the model round now, you can see what a difference that has made just by highlighting the little cracks with a bit of black powder. An alternative, I guess you could do, is you could use black paint, which is watered down. I quite like using the powders because obviously it is dirt that accumulates in the cracks, so I think it gives a better kind of finish, but it's up to you. So what I'll do is so as I said, I mean, you can see using the plinth really does help. As you can see, I'm not really being overly careful. The idea is it gets in the cracks itself, so you get a little bit of because one thing that put me off weathering was I thought, you know, it's going to take quite a lot of expertise to do, but it's not really that hard. You've got to be sensible, I guess. You know, you don't want to overly do it, because imagine network rail, you know, they want to keep a good kind of image on their vehicles. As you can see, the panels are starting to come out well, and you know, you can start seeing the back starting to, you know, you can really see where the two doors meet on the back. Right, so we'll move on. So I mean, you know, we've been at this for about 5 minutes, and we've done quite a lot already. So we'll continue onto the other side. It's every crack. That's what I've found is the key bit with this aspect. As I said, don't be afraid to get it on there, because get your finger, rub it off. Oh, and that's the wing mirror gone, so don't do that. But I also think when you get your finger on it, a nice faded kind of effect on there. I might just add a little bit more onto this side and just try and replicate that to some degree. But I quite like that. Right, to come around to the front, I have quite irresponsibly forgot to tape up the headlights. So before I add the varnish, I will make sure I do that, because they will frost up. Okay, so that's the 1 minute. Just finally, get a little bit on the roof. Not that much, but I have seen in real life these vans do tend to get quite mucky on the top. I just want to highlight the top a little bit, not too much. You can use a damp cloth, but I find when you bring water into this, you're asking for trouble because it kind of washes away all the work that you've done, which is not what you want. Okay, so I'm quite happy with how that one's come out. So what I might do is I might add a little bit of brown, but not too much, because I don't want this one to be quite as dirty as the stove bar. So I'm going to get my brown, and what I sometimes do is get a bit on the paper. Now, realistically, the brown is only going to get around the bottom. And this is where I find gentle blowing. Now, you don't need a lot. Less is off. They often say less is more. In my opinion, I think if you're going for this brown effect, you've got to try and get a similar kind of level on both sides. But I'm quite happy with that. That's good. So now what you want to do is you want to get your big brush, just to kind of mix it all in a bit. Like so. It kind of just shores up everything. All the brown and black mixes in, and you get a better overall look. Okay, and that's about it for the weathering powder. So, you know, you can add, I think, Humbrol off for rust. As I said, it's not, for me, a network rail van should be clean, in my opinion. So, you know, I'm going to give this only a light weathering. But you can carry on, obviously. You can add a lot more. But as I said, I think less is more. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tape up those headlights and show you how to do the varnishing. And you know, that's a 30-second job and pretty much done. Okay, back in a minute. So back. So this is the final step. As you can see, I've taped up the headlights. And essentially you want a really clear space. So what you got to do is you got to make this up. You want that rattling sound, and then you want to hold this about that distance away. 30cm ruler would be my advice. If you get it too close, it washes off the powders you put on. So here goes. So it's short bursts like that. and that should do it. And what I would suggest is leaving that for about 5 minutes, and it should be done. So I'll come back to you when I'm happy that that's all dry, and see what you think. So here we go, back, and I've left that for a good few minutes. So as you can see, I'm just going to peel off the masking tape. Just being really careful. And that's really done the trick, because the windows are, that's kind of a light. There we go. So yeah, you can see it's totally clear. So tape's done its job. Just take that off there. And as you can see, the tape's not been put on perfectly, but it doesn't really matter. As long as you're covering up where you want to protect, it's okay. And there we have it. Now, I'm quite happy with that. That's a good level of weathering for me. Don't know if the camera can give it quite as much justice. Top, you can see it came up particularly well, and this side here. So it looks like there's been a bit of mud splatter in there. And obviously the door. And there you go. That's how easy weathering is. So what I have been doing recently, I mentioned this in the previous video, is I've started to weather some rolling stock. And that's not my camera being funny. This was the same model. And I had a look on the internet, and I could not see any steel carrier wagons that bright or look like that. Whenever you're doing weathering, it's always best to get a picture up of whatever you're modelling. And what I've done is I've applied the same techniques as what I did to the vans. I'll just take the tripod off, show you exactly what I've been doing on the wagons. So I've given it a good dark in places where there's going to be movement, and if you look at that compared to the pristine one, you can see what a difference it makes. And I also weathered the steel coils as well. I know that these trains are designed for delivering new ones, but you never get steel coils that bright. So if you're interested, I will do a video on how to weather the wagons. So yeah, please comment and let me know what you think. If there's something that you think I could do better, please let me know. And yeah, feedback is always welcome. All the best. Take care now. Goodbye.